Hi dear students, in today's class I am going to continue first lesson of physics, force and pressure. Last class you have learned about what is force, effects of force and force has both magnitude and direction. Today's class I am going to discuss about types of force. Let's start the class. Types of forces. Look at here, one person wants to make this car to move. We know that for making an object to move, a force has to be applied. For applying force, there should be interaction between the two objects. Here one object is the person and another object is that car. He is interacting with this car, that is, he is pushing that car. Now look at here, after applying force, the car is moving. We know that a push or pull is known as force. Now look at here, one spanner is kept in front of a magnet. We can see that there is no direct contact between this spanner and magnet. Will that magnet able to move that spanner? Let's see. You can see that even though there is no direct contact between that spanner and magnet, but the magnet is able to pull this spanner. In first case, there is direct contact between the two objects. In second case, there is no direct contact between the two objects. But we can say that there is interaction between the two objects. We know that there should be interaction between the two objects to exert force. So first one we can say that contact force has been applied. In second case, we can say that non-contact force has been applied. We have seen that there are two types of forces, contact forces and non-contact forces. Let's see what is contact force. Forces that comes into action after the direct interaction between objects is called contact force. Contact force work at the point of contact. Example, pushing a car, hitting the ball, kicking a ball, etc. There are two types of contact forces. First one, muscular force. Force resulting due to the action of muscle is called muscular force. So what are the action are doing by using our muscles? That we call it as muscular force. Example, when we push a table or lift the bucket of water, we use the muscular force. Whatever work done by us, we use muscular force. Second type of contact force is frictional force. The force of friction always acts on all moving object and its direction is always opposite to the direction of motion. So frictional force will be always acting in the opposite direction of the motion of an object. Because of that, the frictional force will slow down the motion of an object. Let's see one example. Due to the force of friction between the surface of the ball and the surface of the ground, that make a moving ball to be at the state of rest. Let's see that. One ball is moving. Now the ball is at the state of rest. A frictional force is making that ball to be at the state of rest. So more about frictional force you will learn in next lesson. We have learned that there are two types of contact forces. First one muscular forces and second one frictional forces. Now let's learn what is non-contact force. Force due to without direct interaction between two objects is called non-contact force. We have already seen the example of magnet and the spanner. We have seen that there is no direct contact between the spanner and magnet even though the magnet was able to pull that spanner. Magnetic force is one kind of non-contact force. There are two more kinds, electrostatic force and gravitational force. Magnetic force we have already discussed. A magnet can exert a force on another magnet without being in contact with it, or a magnet can exert a force on any other iron object without being in contact with it. Second type of non-contact force is electrostatic force. The force exerted by a charged body on another charged or uncharged body is called electrostatic force. Look at here. Here you can see that one person is rubbing a comb with his hair. So after rubbing the comb with his hair, what will happen? The comb will get charged. So here the charged object is the comb. Once you keep that charged comb near to one small pieces of paper, what will happen? The paper will get attracted to that comb. So here the comb is the charged object and that paper is the uncharged object. You might have experienced that whenever you keep balloon near to your hair, what will happen? The hair will get attracted toward that balloon. So the balloon will be the charged object there. So the hair will be uncharged object. Sometimes both objects will be charged. Then if both are positive charged, it will get repelled. If both are positive and negative charges, then it will get attracted. More detail about electrostatic force you will learn in 15th lesson. Gravitational force is third type of non-contact force. We know that Earth pulls all objects towards it. Earth attracts all objects even without coming in contact. Thus, gravitational force is a non-contact force. Gravitational force is not only the property of the Earth. Other planets also attract all objects. Let's discuss next topic, pressure. Try to push a nail into a wooden plank. You can easily do it. Now try to push a nail into a wooden plank by its head. So here the head should be down and this pointed part should be up. Are you able to do it easily? No. This task will be little bit difficult. Now whenever you are cutting vegetables, you might have experienced that cutting vegetables with this kind of blunt knife, the task will be very difficult. And if you are cutting vegetable with this kind of knife, the task will be very easy. So you can see that the area over which the force is applied plays a role in making this task easier. So in first case, the force is applied here in this small area so that we can easily make this nail to move inside the wooden plank. But in second case, you can see the force is applying in this large area so that our task was very tough. Here you can see that in second case, when you are using this kind of blunt knife, cutting vegetable is very difficult task because here the area is little more. But here you can see that when you are using sharp knife, this side you can see the area is very less. So whenever the area is less, our task is very easier. Let's discuss more about this. What is pressure? The force acting on a unit area of a surface is called pressure. Pressure is equal to force by area. This is the equation to find out pressure. Smaller the area, larger the pressure on a surface for the same force. We have seen that here the area is small. Because of that, we can easily make this nail to move inside the wooden plank. When you are trying to push this nail in this way, it is very difficult. So here area is large so that the pressure will be less. So whenever the pressure is more, our work will be less. You learned that pressure is equal to force by area. Here area is in the denominator. So whenever you increase the area, pressure decreases and vice versa. According to our requirement, we can either increase or decrease the pressure by changing the area. Here we need to increase the pressure. For that we have to decrease the area. In first case, here the iron nail is pushing by its pointed end. Here you can see the area of the pointed end is very small so that easily it can go inside the wooden plank. Here you can see this area of the iron nail is more so that it is very tough to push this iron nail. Same you can see here also the area of the edge of this knife is very less so that we can easily cut the vegetables. Same way, can you explain now why shoulder bags are provided with broad straps and not thin straps? Here we need to decrease the pressure. For that we need to increase the area. What is pressure? Force acting on unit area is called pressure. So force is acting on our shoulder. For decreasing that pressure we need to increase the area. Same way here, you can say that why potters place on their heads a round piece of cloth when they have to carry heavy loads. By this way, they can increase the area of contact of the load with their head. Here you can see, here they will increase the area so that the pressure on their head will be decreased. So it will make their task easier. Pressure exerted by liquids and gases. Let me explain one activity. Take a transparent glass tube or a plastic pipe and also take a rubber balloon. Stretch the rubber sheet or rubber balloon tightly over one end of the pipe as shown in the figure. Keep the pipe in a vertical position. Pour some water in the pipe. Does the rubber sheet bulge out? Yes, you can see it is bulged out a bit. Note also the height of the water column like this. Pour some more water. Observe again the bulge in the rubber sheet and the height of the water column in the pipe. Again, after adding some more water, you can see here we have increased the height of the water column. Based on that, here the amount of bulge in the rubber sheet or rubber balloon is increased. Can you see any relation between the amount of bulge in the rubber sheet and the height of the water column in the pipe? Yes. As you increase the height of the water column, the amount of bulge in the rubber sheet is increased. From this, we can infer that liquid exert pressure at the bottom of the container. Let's see another activity. For that, take a glass tube and make the arrangement as shown in the figure. So, fill the bottle up to half with water. What do you observe? Here you can see after filling the water, the balloon fixed at the side of this glass tube is bulged. Pour some more water in the bottle. After adding more water, you can see more bulge as here. So from this what you can infer? A liquid exert pressure on the walls of the container. So from these two activity, we can infer that liquid exert pressure at the bottom of the container and liquid exert pressure on the walls of the container. Let me explain one more activity. For this activity, take an empty plastic bottle or a cylindrical container as shown in the figure. Drill 4 holes all around near the bottom of the bottle. Make sure that the holes are at the same height from the bottom. Like this. If it is 5 cm, this all holes should be 5 cm from the bottom. Now fill the bottle with water. What do you observe? Does the water coming out of the holes falls at the same distance from the bottle? Yes, or the water that falls from the bottle is falling at the same distance from the bottle. If it is 10 centimeter, this also falling 10 and here also 10 centimeter. So from this what do you infer? Liquid exert equal pressure at the same depth. Let's do one more activity. Take a cylindrical container or an empty plastic bottle as shown in the figure. Instead of making the hole from same depth, here you can make one hole 5 centimeter from the bottom, another one 10 centimeter and this third hole 15 centimeter from the bottom. After that fill it with water. Now what do you see? How does the water comes from the holes? Here you can see the water falls from these holes are different distances from the bottom. From here we can say it is almost 5 centimeter or this one 10 centimeter or this one 15 centimeter. So from this we can infer that liquid exert different pressure at the different depth. As we learned, liquid exerts pressure, even gases also exerts pressure. The envelope of air all around us is known as atmosphere. The atmosphere is extended up to many kilometers above the surface of Earth. The pressure exerted by this air is known as atmospheric pressure. So what is atmospheric pressure? Pressure exerted by atmospheric air is called atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is the weight of air in a column of unit area. Look at here. Previous experiment we have seen that water column exert pressure at the bottom of the container. Same way here, this gas column exert pressure in this unit area. That is called atmospheric pressure. But this is an imaginary column of the air. How large or small is the atmospheric pressure? That is the magnitude of atmospheric pressure. Let me explain one activity. Take a good quality rubber sucker as shown in the figure like this. Press it hard on a smooth plain surface. When you press the sucker, most of the air between its cup and the surface will be escapes out. The sucker sticks to the surface because the pressure of atmosphere acts on it in this direction. Atmospheric pressure will be acting on this in this direction, because of that this cup is sticking on the surface. To pull the sucker off the surface, the applied force should be large enough to overcome the atmospheric pressure. For pulling it, we have to apply more force. This activity shows an idea about the magnitude of atmospheric pressure. In fact, it would not be possible for any human being to pull the sucker off the surface if there were no air at all between the sucker and the surface. Little bit air is trapped in between the surface and the sucker. Because of that, we are able to pull it back. Otherwise, we could not pull it back. Let's see one more example. If the area of your head were 10 centimeters square, assume like that, how much weight of air would you be carrying on your head? We have seen that a column of air exerts pressure on the bottom of the surface. For example, imagine that this is the air column and that also exerts pressure. So this is the air column on your head and that also exerts pressure on the head. The weight of air is as large as 1000 kg over an area of 10 centimeters square. The reason we are not crushed under this weight is that the pressure inside our body is also equal to atmospheric pressure and cancels the pressure from outside. Atmospheric air is applying pressure in this direction and our body also applying pressure in this direction. And this magnitude of these two pressures will be equal. Because of that, we are not crushed under this weight. In today's class, I have discussed types of forces, pressure, liquid and gas exert pressure, and atmospheric pressure. Hope you all understood the class. Thank you.